クーデリア・アイナ・バーンスタイン。私の声が届いていますか？皆さんにお伝えします。宇宙の片隅、ドルトコロニーで起きていることを、そこに生きる人々の真実を。私は自分の生まれ育った火星の人々を救いたいと願い行動してきました。けれどあまりに無知だった。ギャラルホルンの支配に苦しむ人々は宇宙の各地に存在していたのです。私はドルトコロニーで自分たちの現状に立ち向かおうとする人々に出会いました。彼らはデモという手段を取りました。しかしそれはあくまで経営時、彼らが行動を起こした際、まるで示し合わせたかのように、ギャラルホルンに私は問いたい。あなた方は正義を守る存在ではないのですか？これがあなた方の言う正義なのですか？私はそんな正義は認められない。私の発言が間違っているというのなら構いません。今すぐ私の船を撃ち落としなさい。
Here we'll be exploring not so much what evil is, but rather the phenomenology of the adversary. So this discussion will take into account current global events, whilst focusing on the narrative art of anime and manga. Now let me briefly do something quite dangerous and try and define what anime and manga are. So animation from Japan has been historically referred to as anime, whilst graphic literature or comics from the country have been referred to as manga. The true essence of what defines these mediums, however, is their legacy, which makes them perfect for this discussion. So manga emerged from the art of feudal artists like Hokusai, whose work existed on the fringes of society as decreed by the shogunate, depicting the ethereal, dark, and hedonistic world to which it was exiled, the floating world, or ukiyo-e. Following the fall of fascism at the end of the Second World War, Japanese art once again found itself able to pick up the artistic legacy of ukiyo-e, starting with artists like Tezuka Osamu, Shotaro Shinomori, who brought manga with its fantastic and material elements to television, such as Atom or Cyborg 009. This was the birth of anime. These artists, in the absence of the authoritarian structures of the imperial state, found themselves able to interpret and glimpse their world through frames, cuts, and panels, and animations and comics. What is justice? Who are we? What does it mean to hope? What does it mean to live? These questions are at the core of the legacy of anime and manga. In a way, all anime and manga are part of a shared cosmology in which they try and perceive through us an unknowable world, a strange universe. That, combined with manga and anime's legacy on being the resisting fringe of Japanese culture, means that there has been a struggle over the moral identity of these stories. But that's just it, you see. Whereas Western comics were part of the grand narrative of truth, justice, and the American way, Japanese media was more conflicted. With itself, with its history, with its future, with the world. And as such, in our world, subverted and divided by grand narratives, anime and manga provided a significant jumping point from which we can have an important discussion on antagonism in our work. Who is right? Who is wrong? Who is villain? Who is hero? I believe the truth is far more complicated than a war or an election. Following the fall of fascism in Japan in 1945, Japan's people finally found themselves with the ability to interpret and take ownership of their world. The result is that, parallel to the civil rights movement that exploded across the globe, Japan experienced a cascade of violent protests and student-led resistance movements, pushing for government transparency and the right to choose their system of society. So herein lies the crux of antagonism, which will be at the center of our discussion. It is the wish to be able to choose one's own future, be in control of one's own destiny, even if that means being at odds with society as a whole. I'd like to provide an honorable mention to the recent and beautiful Gundam Twilight Axis, which focuses not on the Gundam pilots as per normal, and instead turns to the pilots of the mobile suits they are fighting. It begs the question, who is fighting for what? What is it that someone is trying to conserve? What is it that someone is trying to subvert? It is worth noting that Sejun Kim, the director of the series, is from a country, South Korea, whose people recently impeached their president, the daughter of a former dictator, whilst visceral discussions are taking place on the status of such issues as the rights of women. It is by all accounts a country in which norms are being challenged and subverted, and I would argue for the better. But not everyone would agree with me, in which case, who is the hero and who is the villain? The one experiencing vicissitude or the one experiencing revolution? Our patriarchal and religious societies, governed by states which by their very nature must cling to power at all costs, means that reaching back to our ancient heroes, who are literally gods and prophets, conserving the cosmic or eschatological order, heroism is about conservation. Our heroes protect the things we care about. They, for all intents and purposes, conserve. Whilst villains disrupt, disagree. This is actually the definition of antagonism, one who instigates change. Villain. Changemaker. The term antihero is used a lot for changemakers, who we can't quite pin as evil. Why is this? Because we can't quite agree with their disruption, with their anger, with their decision to say no. A pivotal work in this respect was John Milton's Paradise Lost, which charts the experience of the devil, of Lucifer, in the fall of Adam and Eve, to the chagrin of many of the people of his day. And like Gundam Twilight Axis, Paradise Lost does something extraordinary by protagonizing a traditional villain. It instills cognitive dissonance in us by challenging our Weltanschauung, our worldview. It instills us with empathy for those we felt we absolutely could not agree with. It humanizes them. It is in effect an act of love. Patriarchy, state, class, and religion do something in particular when they seek to conserve the world. They impose an eschatology, a determined destiny, decided upon for its citizens. So this is something Milton's Lucifer could not accept, to be given a universe he did not choose, an existence not his own. He would act against the conservation of an order, and this would make him a villain. And does this sound familiar? Let's turn to My Hero Academia, an awkward and intriguing piece in the spectrum of anime, as it is the medium's take on the superhero, supervillain phenomenon that has swept the West. It charts a world where superpowers have become a common phenomenon, resulting in a class of state-sponsored superheroes who suppress crime by criminals who also possess these powers, whom society refers to and scorns simply as villains. At the core of the story is the young, aspiring hero Midoriya, or Deku, who looks up to this world's symbol of peace, a man named All Might. Whilst on the opposite end, alone and filled with wrath, is the young villain Tomura Shigaraki and his fellow dissidents who seek to end the current age and order. Tomura Shigaraki and the villain's alliance are right. Okay, but wait, what if they are? Do I agree with their methods? No. But do I agree with the methods of All Might and the heroes? Also no. Why, you ask? Well, because their methods are exactly the same. Tomura's method of resisting the established order, and All Might's endeavors, Eraserhead's methods. Both their methods are vicious and unremorseful violence. What separates them? The violence of heroes is normalized. It is acceptable. I won't go into detail on each of the Villain Alliance's members and their motives, but if we skim over them very briefly, Tomura was in desperate need of help as a child, but neither heroes nor citizens came to his aid. Stain believes modern superheroism is a way for society to ignore its ills, whilst morally bankrupt people stand at the top. Or even the young Toma, who merely believes that the world is too hard to live in. What do they have in common? They want an alternative world. They want to make different choices and decide how they are governed. Even in a democracy, citizens, in effect, lack positive liberty. We can't actually build our own realities. We can only actually act within the confines of an existing reality, and though we have total freedom within it, that world still confines us. This is negative liberty, as defined by Isaiah Berlin, and by creating the illusion of total freedom, it can be as suffocating and as oppressive as an outright authoritarian system. So what options are left for those like Tomura, Stain, Toma? None, but to in effect destroy the world. By killing All Might, by removing the symbol of peace, they believed for a time that they could come closer to true freedom. Iizuka was a protest movement at the core of the Japanese youth's search for their own reality, following existential liberation post the end of imperialism. Students fought visceral, terrible battles with authorities over alternative ways of life, protecting rural communities and demanding to be consulted as a people on such decisions as the construction of Narita Airport. The act of creating barricades was an act of creating a space that was protected from another government that would determine their world, their eschatology. Zizek argues that violence is a consequence of a lack of linguistic expression and reconciliation. When people cannot use words to change their reality, or when they cannot be understood, they lash out at the world itself. This is, in theory, why liberal democracies are supposed to be more peaceful. But I think it's evident an order based on negative liberty can only hold out for so long before people find the world never taught them the words they need to be themselves. The question is, what does Tomura dream of were he to have the words?
Hi, my name is Olivia Ha and I'm South Korean. It was the thousands of people who went out on streets, believing in their power, empowering themselves, and showed their passion and hopes, and also anger and frustration by going on peaceful demonstration with candlelight. I thought it was something I'd never seen before, because I've always seen or observed Korean society as a very fragmented one. There's a matter of region, there's a matter of class divide, there's a matter of gender, and pretty much anything else really. It's not the most open or tolerable society. There is a way that needs to be done for anything, and if you don't follow, if you're slightly out of that zone of normality and normalness, then you're immediately hammered back, just like the other nails on a board. That's the kind of way to describe Korean society. But this particular event that went on for about a month, it has changed so much personally, because I have more faith and I am proud to be Korean. I was always proud, but for different reasons, and now we have a strong standing where we are in a contemporary society rather than the historic significances that we've had. And it just goes to show what kind of people and country it is, and how strong and well built it is, and how fiery yet peaceful it is, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So the culture and the spirit of the country has been reminded and re-embraced, which I think is a great deal for people who have been feeling really down and powerless and helpless in a supposedly quite a lockdown and closed society. So I think that's been quite empowering for just about everyone. That's actually fired up other demonstrations and protests regarding gender as well. So I do think that this sense of powerlessness is almost going to demise and have helped the passion to spread across other justice and inequalities and remind people and empower people to realize that they have that power to change. They are the center of the universe. They are the center of this particular country and their own universes. Whether to examine I'm in the right or not, I need to say someone else is wrong, I presume, and I do feel like that's a bit black and white, so I'd rather not say I'm in the right. I also don't think I am mainstream in many ways, and I wouldn't claim that I'm right in expense of other people. Even if it meant that, you know, we can all be right, I think it's not a question or a statement to say that you're in the right. I'm in the right side of the history, and that I'm not a supremacist, I am not a xenophobic person, but not when it comes to my identity or activities as a Korean person. I think everything is changing in this world, that's the only constant thing. And as a Korean, we have gone through a certain path and certain period that other countries are not going through yet. And in that way, yeah, I was with the movement, so I was mainstream then, but otherwise I am very different from the rest of the society, which I hope will be reconciled as we go along.
See my drive, whoa, yeah, you can see my drive.